For us. Hello, everyone. My name is David Zinner. I'm the Executive Director of Kavod Vinicum and the Gamliel Institute. Welcome to a very special set of 4 sessions taught by Rabbi Tamima Ichkovitz. We're so pleased that Tamima is going to be teaching this session because it's going to be enlightening for those of you who do Taharas and are involved in the Chaver Kadisha work. It'll give you some new insights that you may have never had before, both spiritual and textual. And so Tamima is going to introduce herself. I'm not going to go through an introduction for her, but welcome. And if you have any logistical questions, any technical things, feel free to chat to Joe or Rick or myself. And if you have any questions between times about anything, feel free to contact us. But Tamima, we're very excited to have you teach us, so please take it away.
Okay, well, I'm just delighted to be here. And before we start with our introductions, let's start with a chant to call in the angels. Okay, here. So this melody, this says, Ki malachav yatzav lach lishmarcha b'chol drachecha. Angels are appointed to care and watch over you. And I hope you'll sing with me and kind of let the sound make a happy sound to source and kind of hold community, even if we can't hear each other. It goes like this. Ki malachav yatzav b'chol drachecha, ki malachav yatzav lach lishmarcha b'chol drachecha, ki malachav yatzav lach lishmarcha b'chol drachecha. Angels are appointed to care and watch over you wherever you are. Angels are appointed to care and watch over you wherever you are. Ki malachav yatzav lach lishmarcha b'chol drachecha, ki malachav yatzav lach lishmarcha b'chol drachecha. So this piece is from Psalm 91, and it's one of the lines that we'll be working with today. That's designated in Sefer Ma'avar Yabok to help somebody who's transitioning or who has transitioned, for safety. Having said that, there are so many familiar faces and some new ones, and what I'd like to do is hear a little bit from you first, get a sense of where you are and your involvement in Chaver Kadisha and what you're hoping to get from the class and what your interest is in this class. And we can kind of just go popcorn style.
How long do you want each person to talk, Tamima?
It should, well, we've got a lot of people here, so I'm going to ask you to stay underneath a minute. Thank you, David. Or I'll just, Evie, since I'm looking at your beautiful face, will you start?
Okay, I'm in Boulder, and our Chaver Kadisha is all volunteer, and we serve the whole Jewish-wide community, all the synagogues. And I'm the one who keeps a phone on all the time, so I send out notices. I share leadership with a group, some of whom are here tonight. Charna, Ed, Doug, and I just want to be open to learning anything to do better.
Thank you.
Tamima, you're going to have to call on people because everybody's...
Okay. Well, Ed, you were the first person on the call, so I'd like to invite you to share a little bit.
Ed Cass from Boulder on the men's Torah team and the leadership team. Just looking forward to new ideas. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Holly Blue, good to see you.
Yeah.
You need to
Thank you.
unmute you.
Thank you. Thank you. So Holly Blue from Santa Cruz Mountains in California on the Monterey Bay. We have a community Chevra Kadisha here locally that's been active for over 25 years, and I have the honor and pleasure of being a Roshah. I'm also a Gamliel Institute graduate and now have the pleasure of being on the faculty.
Welcome. Okay. Sharna? Oh,
Hi, yeah, thank you so much. Let's see, I've been in Chevra Kadisha Society for it'll be 21 years in June. First in Fort Collins, Colorado, now here in Boulder. I think that for me, you know, the technique is one thing, but what the heart that fills with that, you know, that really fills this territory, understanding the care of the soul. These are things I'm greatly interested in. I did a teshuva for my rabbinic ordination recently, where I really look at what happens to the Met after the Tahara and understanding really what the soul goes through is really important part post, you know, once they're a Met. This is something that I'm really engaged with and want to continue working with. So thank you.
thank you. Isaac?
Yeah, I've been doing Chevra Kadisha work for decades and always interested in looking at a different perspective and a new perspective.
All right, thank you. Matt? Matt?
Hi.
Hi.
I am a relative newcomer, but I've founded my Chevra Kadisha here in Beacon, New York, and we just did our first virtual Shmirah and almost virtual Tahara.
Beautiful. Thank you. Laurel, good to see you.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. I'm Laurel, and I live in Ashland, Oregon, and I'm part of the local Hever Kadisha, and really looking just to go deeper. I do a lot of end-of-life work, and just it's a real honor to be able to serve in this capacity, and I just want to grow in my service.
Thank you. Rabbinic Pastor Chaya.
Hi, I'm from Miami, Florida, and I've been involved in the Chevra Kadisha up to the COVID, and I'm interested in the end of life stuff.
Thank you. Good to see you. Gary.
I've been involved in the Chevra Kadisha for, in 2 different locations, initially in Pittsburgh with the new community Chevra Kadisha for 5 years, and then the last 10 years almost here in Richmond, Virginia. I'm very interested in the interaction between Kabbalah and the practices of Jewish mourning and burial. And I've actually seen a lot of convergence lately around the concept of idealism and relationality. There's a book that I'm reading now called "Why Materialism is Baloney," which and how true skeptics know that there is no death and fathom answers to life, universe, and everything. So it's interesting.
Sounds deep. Thank you. Amy.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amy Cunningham. I'm a licensed director in Brooklyn. I teach a lot of progressive Christians, Unitarians, Quakers, what amounts to Jewish burial practice, and help folks here, Jewish and non, with earth-friendly burials, many of them upstate, not too far from where you are, Matt. I go to Rhinebeck and Tilson, New York, to the eco-friendly cemeteries up there. And we have green burials, and I'm a home funeral guide as well. I met Holly Blue through the National Home Funeral Alliance, and help people in the bathing and shrouding of their loved ones, and have been very, very interested in what you guys do. I sometimes feel like we're a little bit behind other areas of the country here in New York, and I'm interested in seeing what I can cultivate and foster here.
Thank you. Rosa.
Hi, everybody. My name is Reza Javatzadeh. So I'm here in California, Simi Valley. I'm student of Rabbi Temime. It's been a year that I've been here student, and it's my first participating in any event by this organization, and looking to learn and add more and more to my knowledge and wisdom. And nice to meet you, everybody.
Thank you, Reza. Mazel Tov. Saralea.
I live in Scottsdale, Arizona, where it snowed and hailed the other day. Very surprising.
Wow.
I've heard of the Gamliel Institute for a very long time, and I've wanted to take classes. And when I heard that Rebbe Tamima was teaching, I would take any class that Rebbe Tamima teaches, because I think she's an excellent teacher. I'm not just saying it, but I've learned a lot from you, Rebbe Tamima, and the subject matter really interests me. And as you know, I told you about my parents. My parents and my grandparents, and going back in my family, were all the head of Chevra Kadishas. So I used to see and listen to their stories. I mean, my father was on the phone all the time, and my mother would just rush out to do a tahara. And it was just like normal life in my house. And I never really appreciated what they did until I moved to the Bay Area in the late 70s. And everybody that was on the Chevra Kadisha was so old, most of them died, and there wasn't a Chevra Kadisha unless we would put one together. So a group of us that didn't know very much, but learned on the spot, started a Chevra Kadisha in Berkeley. And little did I know that by sharing the duties, I'm sorry for going on, but I want to just warn people. Everybody in the group took a month. That was their month, and they were like the head and in charge and all of that. I took December, and everybody died in December. And and it was really like, I felt this obligation that I had to do it. And later on, at the end of the month, somebody said, why didn't you tell us? You know, why didn't you tell us? We would have been there for you. And these women that I worked with were on such a high level that after every single tahara we did, we all went to the mikveh together. And it was really, really quite amazing. I also want to say one last thing, that I do not do funerals if people refuse to do a tahara and tachrifim. Now, I sound like I'm very rigid, but I'm not, because I feel really good about talking people into it. And I've been quite successful at that, thank God. And I think it's
no doubt.
I think it's really, really so important. And the final thing I want to talk about is I'm going to start a group of tachrifim makers. we're not supposed to have these machine.
So we can set you up with that, but there's actually some folks that are doing that, and maybe after the class, I'm really happy to, put the word out and also introduce you to people. I think I mentioned Nina Rubin has done a really great job of surrounding community around that.
I felt that you
So-
just cut me
so
off. I
thank-
had one more thing I needed to say, but that's okay.
Go ahead. Do you want to finish?
Yes, I used to go visit my booby, and in her top drawer, she had her tachrichim that she personally made, and she would look at them and say, "This is part of my olam haba. Just remember, I put them in this drawer. When I die, remember they're here." Okay, and that's it. I'm
All
done.
right. Thank you, Saralea. Cantor Mark.
Reb Tamima, good to see you and good to see everyone. Reza, I'm in Thousand Oaks, which is right next to Simi Valley, so we will have to cuss, fuss, and discuss at some point. My grandfather, Philip Pinky, of blessed memory, was in the Hever Kadisha in Brooklyn. I did not have a clue what he did back then. When David, of current memory, Zinner came to LA, to HUC, JIR, so many different, the acronym doesn't fit on one sweatshirt, much less the whole name, to teach a group of us and assemble a group to teach Tahara. You were there, Tamima, and that's when we first met, and I filed it away and I said, someday I'm going to be able to study with this woman because she's really got the juice. I officiate a lot of funerals, spend a lot of time singing people home on their deathbeds and doing a lot of hospice work. But my first Tahara was virtual for Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and it was a very meaningful experience for me. I spent a Shabbat at her home and was pleasantly surprised to have a sound bath at the end, and something I'd never expected and absolutely thoroughly enjoyed. I attended a conference this year of Kavod V'Nichum, and I am still bragging about it to anybody who'll listen to me, tell them how incredible it was and try and get them to be involved next year's. I was honored to present helping families say goodbye the way I do online celebrations of life for hospice patients. So I am just delighted to be here. Shalom
All right, well,
Chaverim.
good to have you. Thank you. Douglas Sparks. Tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, and your interest.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm in Boulder, Colorado, and I'm on Ed's men's Tahara team and on the leadership group, and I'm also interested in Kabbalistic connections with the ritual and liturgy and so forth.
Great, thank you. Amuna, we can't see you, but maybe you'll tell us, say hello.
Hi, hold on, I'm just sharing a video. I have some little ones hovering around, so that's why I'm going to be on in this video. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Sort of.
So I'm here as a friend of Tanima. I've learned with Tanima. Hold on, let me do this and see if I can speak, if this is going to work better. Disconnect.
So I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Much better.
Okay, so I'm here. I'm a friend of Tamima. I've learned with Tamima many times, and we have been learning some of Sefer Yetzirah. And I think I'm in this class because I enjoy, Tamima's opened my eyes to a lot of different things in Judaism that I haven't been exposed to. And because I really appreciate learning some of the Kabbalistic ideas. And it's cool that there are a lot of people here from Boulder because I'm in the process of applying to a program in Boulder. So maybe I'll get to meet you one day.
Cool. Thank you. And Judith Jaffe.
Yes, hello. I work with the Hever Kadisha group out of Congregation Har Shalom in Fort Collins. I have been active with the group for about 5 years and previously worked with the county hospice group. So I've been involved with end-of-life care and the Jewish burial and end-of-life rituals for a while now. I find myself very moved by the beauty of the practice and just wanted to add some depth to my understanding of it. Oh, and hi, Sharna, I miss you.
Thank you. Has everybody, I think that's everybody. Is there anyone that hasn't said hello that enrolled in the class?
Reb Chaya, did she?
I think you left out Rick and Joe, right?
Yeah, I talked,
Oh,
Charna.
okay.
Thank you, though, for
Okay.
taking.
All right. Well, Mr. Rabbi Blair, will you introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm involved with Gamliel Kavod. I think I've had some interaction with the bulk of the people on the group here tonight. I started doing things in this area of the world in terms of Shmira and Tahara. I guess it was 1986 or 1987. And somehow I never left. So here I am.
Thank you. And actually, Rabbi Blair helped me. We worked together on a lot of this translation several years ago. So his footprint, or I'd say fingerprints, are definitely on this work. Rick?
Hi, everybody. I'm honored to be here. I'm a newcomer relative to Isaac and Joe. I started a Chevra in 1996 in Los Alamos, New Mexico. So I've only been involved for about 25 years. I'm part of the Gamliel Institute, and Kavod and David and I've been putting on conferences for a decade or more, 15 years or something. And anyway, I love this work and love to support our teachers, and I'm delighted to help Tamima in any way I can tonight.
Yeah, thank you. And David Zinner.
There we go. Okay.
Wait, you got to unmute yourself.
Dinner.
There you go.
I have some great titles. I'm the executive director of Kavod V'Nichum and of the Gamliel Institute. You know, it's really a wonderful thing to see all of what we've been able to build: conferences, classes, trainings. It's very exciting, and I'm so glad to see everyone here. And I've been fortunate enough to help Tamima with developing the course, so I sort of feel like I know a little bit of what's going to be coming, and I know it's going to be great. So I just want to enjoy it with the rest of you.
Thank you. And I'm just really delighted to be here. It's kind of the culmination of, you know, I started working with end-of-life material with Sefer Ma'abarya book in 2012 when the Kavod V'Nichum did their conference in Los Angeles. And I've been sticking around ever since. And it's been such a wonderful portal into, you know, well, into compassion, chesed shel emet, and also into the movement, what happens behind the scenes, which is something that's fascinated me for, well, I want to say forever, really. It's just I'm really interested in the substructure of things. So just a little bit about myself. I'm the daughter of 2 Shoah survivors. I went to yeshiva as a child. My parents wanted me to learn the Jewish ways because they didn't want Hitler to win. And so if I would carry it, and my brother, well, then he wouldn't win. So that was for the early parts of my life. Later, for years, I had a career, about 20 years, as an electronics engineer. And then a bicycle accident and an injury let me take pause in my life. And I decided I wanted to study mysticism, whatever that was. Okay, maybe Jewish mysticism, because I was fluent in Hebrew from my yeshiva days, but it could have been anything. And a class came up on Sefer Yetzirah, that's the same book that I've been studying with Emunah. And that really changed the way I viewed the world. I could see the Holy One's presence, footsteps, if you were, through the cycles of time, largely, and in other ways. So it's really been a blessing. I was ordained as a rabbi in 2007 in the Aleph Ordination program. Reb Zalman Schachter Shalomi is my Rebbe, and Emily Conrad, the visionary who brought forward continuum movements, my other Rebbe. So I find that she's a pioneer in the somatics work, and I find that the somatics work and Kabbalah are intertwined, go hand in hand. And that's going to come in handy, especially next time we meet when we talk about Rechitza and the body. And I'm so happy to be here. Okay, so I'm going to start a little presentation and share some things. So we called in the angels. I want to show you the first page here. And what this shows is the tree of life. Oh, wait, you're not able to see this yet, are you? I think I need sharing permissions. Let me try this again.
No, you should have permission. You just need to start the share. There you go.
To take it. Okay. Thank you. So I want to show you this because this is the tree of life. And it's also, we're just coming off of Tu B'Shvat. So how appropriate to look at the Eitz Chaim as we're coming out of Tu B'Shvat. And one aspect that shows up here is that it's a model of not only the macrocosm of God, the infinite coming to earth, it's also the microcosm, and each one of us are a carrier in this way. And we're going to look more at that. Okay, these are two different models of the Eitz Chaim, and as we go through our time together, you'll begin to understand more why it's so relevant. But what I look for, and what I learned in my years as an electrical engineer, looking in the lab, looking for patterns, is that we want to trace patterns. And so these are two fundamental models that are worth taking a closer look at. They're two models of the Eitz Chaim. They're both always true, according to the Holy Ari, Isaac Luria. This is the Yosher model, the masculine model, the linear model. And this is the feminine model, the Igul model, the circle model. If you're looking at it on the body, you saw the placement in the picture before. The feminine model might be like a cross section of a part of the body with the different tissues representing the different levels, the amount of water being what differentiates one from the other largely. And so these are really prototypes of how Kabbalah views source coming into manifestation. I guess I'll say this also about hierarchy, is that this is the most ethereal. And then sometimes, at least when I first started, I was like, well, Malchut, and I don't really want to worry about that. But really Malchut, the realm in which we live, the realm in which we are close to, and bringing source into our day-to-day lives is really what the spiritual work is about. So these are really, really old models that have been in the Jewish consciousness for quite some time. Now, these are pictures of DNA. And look, I've seen this picture, many of us have seen this many times, it's a double helix. And I've heard recently that the double helix is a photo that's taken when there's no water, and so it kind of curls up. And so actually in its normal state, when it's in our bodies, it's more flat. It's not so twisted in that way. So maybe it looks more like the model. And of course, that's a two-dimensional model representing an end. We might say three-dimensional, this previous picture, but it's really referencing n dimensions. We don't really know how many, maybe 10, but no one's really identified that. And this picture was that my mouth just dropped when I saw that, because it's so much like the feminine tree of life. And so looking for patterns, this suggests that our mystics of old were onto something very physical, very real that they intuited in those other pictures. And what we're going to do here in this course is look at Sefer Ma'avorya book. And so I just want to show you the reference, the book. And when I first started with this work, I was so moved in this Sefer because it showed a real continuous care for life's end. See, I have a memory when my mother passed away, like one day she was in the hospital and she'd been sick for a while, and there were doctors and machines and all this activity, and I got the phone call that she passed. I wasn't blessed to be there. It was about over 20 years ago. And when I came back to see her, it was like everybody disappeared, boom. And you could see that there was a real space between the living and the not living, and there was no care to hold so really in between. It wasn't a default. There wasn't that compassionate care. So Sefer Ma'avorya book, which came from Modena, Italy in 1626, shows a full continuum from visiting the ill and many, many rounds of prayers to say, to vidui, to when somebody becomes a goses or goseset, there are psalms for the transition, and that is Ma'avorya book. Yabuk is a gematria of 112. Yud, Bet, Kuf. Kuf is 100, Bet is 2, and Yud is 10. And it's really a prayer for ascension, moving up the tree of life, which I can show you. It relates to divine names, and it's very potent. And I can show that to you when we're looking at the tree of life. It has directions and practices for rechitza. And we're going to be looking first at Psalms and Piyutim to complete the transition today. Next time, we're going to look at Rechitza, in particular the body and the Eitz Chaim in the body. And it's lovely to see what Aaron Berechia wrote about that. Tahora, which is effectively the final mikveh. And there's also dressing and laying in the casket. And Hakafut is something else we're going to focus on. And of course, there's a Levaya in there. And what I became aware of very quickly with engaging with this Sefer is that the rituals in the Sefer are really different from what I've seen used other places. Okay, so what I've done is taken little bits to share. So this is a piece that from Sefer Ma'avorya book. And so it's after you've done the 112 prayers, and if the person's still lingering, he writes, "B'im yacher milfared umitzta'er chas v'shalom." If the passing is going slowly and it's stressful, God forbid, then Yomru Sheva Pamim Shir Shel Pagaim Shehu Siman Samich Aleph. So say 7 times the psalm to control negative energies, which is Psalm 91. You say that with the Ana B'choach, and which we're going to look at today too, with Shir HaMa'alot, which is Psalm 121, with a bunch of with Im She'ar Pesukei Derachamei B'neihem, with assorted different verses of compassion, invoking tenderness and maternal mercy. Piratzon HaMesader, which is what as the leader wants to do. So there's also like space in there to be expressive and call in what feels appropriate at the time from our big holy toolkit.
Tamima,
yes.
Excuse me 1 second. Isaac is posting a note saying, could you please give us context? Tell us who Berechia was and how he fits into this, and so that people have a context of where this book came from.
Okay. Well, Sefer Ma'avorya book, it's the earliest book, which it's actually really important on end-of-life practice. Aaron Berechia was a Kabbalist who lived in Modena, Italy, and it was published in 1626. So it's also very, very old. And there was like a question that came up, and this, I understood this book was written as a response to a question of one of his students. And I know when I looked at the timeline, it seemed to me that shortly after 1626, in Medina, there were chevras that were popping up. So it seems likely that this impacted the coming together of some chevras. Okay. Okay. Okay, and there's one more thing I want to add on this. I hope that answers your question for reference. So it's like really this amazing deep book with like every word, there's like, it's put together consolidated lines of psalms and notation, and it's really, really dense. And like the more you look at it, the more wisdom and spirit presence just like flies off the pages. So I know I'm going to be working with this Sefer for a very long time. So I want to say, I want to add one more thing because it's the next thing we're going to look at. And he says, put kavana, have intention, on the verse in Psalm 91, Ki malachav yatzav. Okay, for the angels are directed to guard you in all your ways, and that was the psalm the piece that we started with. So, like, if you walk away with one thing tonight, and only one thing, what I'd like you to remember, and we're going to chant it again, is that verse in Psalm 91 about the angels.
Tamima, excuse me.
Did that answer your question?
Request.
Yes.
I think so. Someone else has requested that you click the slide button on the lower right so that the entire slide will be bigger and people can read it more easily.
Slide button on the bottom right.
Yeah, if you
Sorry.
see
There's a slider.
See the slider to the left of the slider is a little image of a yeah, to the left of that. Don't hit that. Go to the left of that. The next little icon over from the slider.
Okay, wait, I've got to move the picture where I see you first. There's a slider. Oh, this little X?
No, there's
Does that do it?
There's a picture of a monitor. See that to the left of the slider?
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Click on that.
But that is better.
To the right of the comments. To the right, a little more.
Okay.
A little more. Next one. A little more. Right there. Click on that. Yes. There you go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, got it. You're welcome. Thanks for the correction. Okay, so everybody can see now. Yes. Okay, so this is direction in case it's a difficult passing. And so this is important. So like the part that we're looking at here in context is the part right before Tahara. So I started with the Tahara, and then I looked at a few pieces right before and some pieces right after to hold it in context and also bring in the truth that it's really supporting a continuum of practice, because that instead of just when somebody dies, we give them to the Tahara team, which is how it was done, at least when I was younger. When my parents passed away, which has been lots of years. All right, so I push this button. Okay, so Ki Malachav, for his angels, have been appointed to guard you in all your ways. And even just saying this line brings a sense of calling in the angels. And so I can really imagine being at somebody's bedside who's having difficulty, or even not even having difficulty, even somebody that's sick, that you can do a lot of these same. It was really moving to find that a lot of these psalms and Piyutim are the same ones we use for healing, with a little bit of an exception, but not that much. So let's sing this again, and the way it's done is. Berechia teaches us to do it 7 times, and 7 is a really important number in Jewish tradition, and we're going to touch on that. Okay. So join me. I mean, we could be daring and like unmute and just like deal with the dissonance and make a happy sound, and I'd be okay with that. If you want to try it, if you want to unmute yourself, it will come in a dissonant way, but I feel like it's a blessed noise, a blessed sound we're making to Hashem. Ki malechav yetza ve'elach lishmarcha b'chol drachecha. 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 Ki malechav yetza ve'elach lishmarcha b'chol drachecha.
Man.
Amen. And so there's a potency, and you can imagine the angels filling the room as you're chanting this. At least I like to do that. Okay, and Psalm 91. Of course, there are really good English translations of a lot of this, and so it's possible to do this in English as well. This is a translation that I've adapted from Rabbi Zalman Schachter Shalomi's translation, and what I'd like to do is we'll sing it, and we'll sing it, and pause with and say this line over seven times while we're in that. I guess the other thing I want to mention is that my teacher Reb Zalman used the name Yah for God often. It was also a time when people, come back. Okay, when people were, saying my Lord didn't feel so good to people. And there's also in Talmud Bavli, Masechet Eruvin, 18b, it says, from the day the temple was destroyed, it is sufficient to eternally use two letters for the divine name, as it is said, Kol haneshama tehallel hallelujah. So hallelujah means praise, and Yah is God's name. So when you see the name Yah here, you can hold that. Of course, when you chant, you're welcome to use the names that if you prefer Adonai, if you fear Hashem, use the names that are true to your heart. Okay, and so I put this to a melody that will probably sound familiar, so you may want to hum along or sing along with me. In concealment you dwell, Most High Almighty. You linger in the shadow, I say to you, Yah. You are both my safe haven, my bastion, holding me. I must trust you, my God. You save me from entrapment, from plague, threatening existence. You cover me under your shelter. You keep me safe under your wings. I am protected by your truth. Lie, 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 lie. Do not panic, facing night's terror. A bullet shot in broad daylight, a blight creeping in the murky night, a wasting plague at high noon. You will not be harmed, though 1,000 fall near you, a myriad at your right hand. You just look steadfastly ahead, and you will see how malice will get its rebuke. Yes, you, Yah, are my defense. I am at home with you, high beyond reach. No mishap will befall you. Your tent will be safe from harm. Angels are appointed to care and watch over you wherever you are. Angels are appointed to care and watch over you wherever you are. Angels are appointed to care and watch over you wherever you are. Angels are appointed to care and watch over you wherever you are. Angels are appointed to care and watch over you wherever you are. Angels are appointed to care and watch over you wherever you are. Lie, 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 lie. Angels are appointed to care and watch over you wherever you are. They will bear you high on their hands. You will not strike your foot against a stone. Snakes and wild cats will avoid you. Lions and serpents will get out of your way. Because you long for me, I will rescue you. I will raise you up because you know my name. When you call me, I will answer you. I will free you and esteem you. I will make you content with your lifespan, and I will have you witness how I bring deliverance. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 yeah, lie, lie, yeah, lie, 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 yeah, lie, 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 lie. So you can imagine being at someone's bedside, whoops, and I'm giving away my secrecy for, you know, and saying a piyut like this. You know, and this is one of the ones, this is really designated for protection, and you can hear in this the words. You know, of course, it would be really lovely to do, like, you could do a whole session or a whole series even on a particular psalm, because each line in the psalm in the Hebrew has so many reflections and so many different colors. That's what I love about the Hebrew so much, that it shows so many parallel truths. And when Reb Zalman writes his Psalms, he writes the English translations from the place of connecting with the heart, being the dominant, which is how we all connect to one another. Okay, so we said that psalm, or that line, how many times? 7 times. So what's with 7 and the Jewish people? What is the holiness of 7 and the significance of it? Because we see a lot of things are 7s, and also especially in death and in life, actually. So 7 is arguably the sacred number of the Jewish people. On Shabbos, the liturgy says that we are a people that sanctify the number 7. And the secret of 7 that we're going to look at here can use to be deepen the experience, the spiritual experience, whenever a cycle of 7 is encountered, like every day of the week, for example. Every day of the, there are attributes that are designated that, you know, it's a reference for what's going on. So, for example, so natural, the 7 days of the week, the 7 colors of the rainbow, the seven wonders of the world, continents, and I love the fact that it's the 7 natural notes on the Western scale. And the openings in the head, which also is noted in Sefer Yetzirah. What else is 7? In Torah, 7 days of creation, 7 ancestors. I don't have to read them all to you, but they're abundant 7s. 7 drops of blood when the high priest would do the temple sacrifice ritual. 7 weeks of 7 for counting the Omer. So not only is 7 holy, 7 times holy, 7 times 7 is exponentially holy, one could say. 7 hakafot in this on Sukkot, 7 double letters, Beged Kefret, 7 lines in the Ana B'Choach, and these are all parts of the same secret 7, and we're going to work with that in just a moment. And the 7 visible planets, Kochvei Lechet, the ones that we can see with our eyes. So they're all aspects that feed into this mystery that's called the secret of 7. And it's, the thing about a secret is once you know the secret, it's not a secret anymore because you know it. And in death, 7 days to purify for touching a dead body, 7 stops before the graveside, Shiva, the Seb means 7, and 7 hakafot around a meta or a mate, which we'll look at in our final class in this series. So what's the secret of 7? Well, one way to work with it is to look at the 7 lower sfirot. Right? We took a look at the tree of life before, and there are 3 upper sfirot. We're not going to work with them. They're very ethereal. The 7 lower sfirot are more, I want to say, are more earthly, and more. They relate to more of the emotional plane. And so this will be a review for some of you. And I don't know, every time I look at it, I kind of feel something a little different. So the first sfirah of the lower 7 is chesed. Chesed, grace, benevolence. It's modeled by water, mayim. Water spreads, and if you leave it spreading, it'll spread as long as you let it until it's contained. It's connective. It fits precisely into any container, which is something we can take for granted. But when I stop and think about what that means, it's like really adapting to that which holds you. It's profound. And so water, that's why we have water here, it references chesed. Now, chesed will keep spreading and spreading and spreading until it gets a boundary, until it gets gevura, which is the boundary, which is like the cup that holds my tea. And then now it's in a cup and I can lift it to my lips. So too, the blood vessels holding the blood, they're like the cup directing the blood to flow where it needs to go. So without gevura, chesed isn't useful. So sometimes gevura gets a bad rap because it's discipline, it's boundaries, and we all want to be free, right? But it's true that without boundaries, without direction, there's nothing manifests, nothing gets corrected, nothing gets blessed. So the gevura is an essential part of it. It directs the God flow, it directs the blessing. So Tiferet, and so Chesed is related to the right arm, Gevura to the left. Tiferet, it's like the heart center, and it's beauty. It's the kind of beauty from balancing the flow and the discipline in such a way that there's movement down the center line, right? Tiferet is modeled on the center line, and it's balance, harmony, majesty, beauty. And it's also represented largely up by the torso in Kabbalah. Whoops. Oh, no, we're not there yet. We're at Netzach, which means tenacity, staying the course, making it happen. So like when I look at the days of the week, for example, so the Yom Rishon, it's right after Shabbos, and it's mostly Sunday, right? And that's a day of Chesed. I mean, Sunday is usually a day most of us have off, and it tends largely to Chesed. Day 2 is Gevura, is Sunday night to Monday night. So it's Monday, going to work, making things happen, and also in our life, it's very much, it's very Gevuradic. At least that's how I've experienced it. Like, oh my God, it was a great week, and I have to get up and get my act together, especially when I worked in the corporate world. Then Monday night to Tuesday, that's Tiferet. So Tuesday's largely Tiferet, balance. And then Wednesday, and this is also why I paused here, which is the day for Netzach, That's like hump day, right? So it's like if you can stay the course and get over the hump on Wednesday, you're going to make it through the week. So it has this sense, even in our culture, of being like, okay, I'm staying the course, it's Wednesday. Endurance, valor, perseverance, victory, netzach. So Thursday, Wednesday night to Thursday relates to Hod, gratitude, humility. Hod is the way of the priest and the prophet. Hod it's like the ability to let the beauty shine through without claiming ownership. I thought it was so profound when my friend Cantor Rabbi Michael Esforni put it to me that way. Or Reb Zalman, I had a really hard time understanding what this one was. Flying like a bird flies. You know, they have the airwaves that they fly on, of the updrafts that they access. Flying, they use energy that's always there. And so too, swimming like a fish swims, a fish will ride the currents and using a minimum of their own energy. Like Dune, if anybody saw Dune and saw the sandworms in that movie, and when I forget what they're called, the Aboriginal people rode those big old sandworms, it's like they were the sandworms, but they didn't have to use their own energy. They knew that the presence was there and how to channel it and how to access it. And that's what Hod is, as it were. It's also like the nuances, the second order effects. So the picture of water here, it's like the ripples that come through and having them in your awareness. Hod. And Netzach and Hod, right and left leg. Yesod is the pelvis. Foundation, community, intimacy. And this little fetal elephant, which I just love this image. It's really shows gestation that happens in this sphere. And that's Friday. And Malchut or Shechina, that's Shabbos, right? So we know on Shabbos we get ready, or there's practices to get ready on Friday night to invite in the Shechina to be ready to receive. And there's also a sense that being ready to receive actually calls in the energy. So it's like the feminine waters, the earthly desires, the Mei Nuktaim, call in the Mei Zacharim, the divine waters. And so for union, and that's really what we're praying for, and what Kabbalah teaches, that Shabbos is all about, a day of union with the divine. May we all experience it deeply and in a way that really nourishes. Okay, that's the secret of 7. And the reason I wanted to show you that is because it relates to the Ana B'Choach, which is a spiritual poem attributed to Nechunya ben Hakanya from the 2nd century. Ashkenazis do it Erev Shabbos before the Lecha Dodi, and the Sephardi Sidurim and practices actually do it for Shachrit every day. It's composed of Ana B'Choach has 42 words. 42 in Gematria is Membet, as it says right here, and it's an acronym for Ma'aseh Breshit, the act of creation. So when we say the Ana B'Choach, already in the numbers, there's a sense of bringing in creation. Now, Moshe Cordovera teaches in his epic piece, Pardes Rimonim, that the Ana B'Choach is actually the first 42 letters of Breshit encrypted, each one in a particular way. And he actually breaks it down in the book, so it's like a heightened aspect of the first words of Torah. So, and Kabbalah teaches that everything is in the beginning, and then it starts getting disseminated more. So arguably, it's the most potent piece of Torah. So what I thought I would do now is I could I don't know if anybody of you had a chance to see the video, but I was going to play the video and then I can kind of point to the lines. I guess what I will say is that what we want, the divine name in here, so the Ana B'Choach, it's like a palette, it's a carrier for the divine name. And there are other Piyutim that also carry this divine name that are beautiful and juicy. And we're going to look at another one in our last time in the class. So this is like the basic to understand and be able to pick out these divine names when you see them. So the Ana B'Choach, the first line relates to Chesed. And so I chant this every morning as I walk in a circle and really try to embody the aspect of Chesed. So it's kind of an exercise in, waking up, really. And then Gvura, and what does Gvura move like? What does fire move like? Because Chesed is like water, fire, and you may interpret Gvura another way, but I like fire often comes up with that, and which is really different than water. And so we see that the 7 lower Sfirot are referenced here. Let me see. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to try to get out of this so I was going to run the tape that I did. Are there, before we go on, are there any questions? Or does anyone want to make a comment before we go on?
Isaac, do you want to ask your question about Berechia's his upbringing and where he grew, went to school and so forth?
Yeah, you're talking about Berechia, who is the subject of these 4 lectures, but I would like to get content and context. What was his education, his parents? Did he go to the University of Bologna, where 32% of the body in those years were Jewish, in medical school and so forth? What language did he write in? He was extremely knowledgeable. His book is so erudite and esoteric. I'm very curious to know more about this person who wrote something that every Chevra Kadisha in the world uses as a base guideline. People died before 1526. What necessitated at that point in time? Yes, the response of the community, we know that, but wasn't there communities beforehand? Didn't they know what to do with bodies beforehand? So if you have that information, I would like to hear a profile of Aaron Berechia.
Okay, well, we have a really limited amount of time right now, but I'll see if I can get back to you later on that. I'd be happy to follow up. But I have a presentation set up that's not what I planned on talking about tonight. But I'll get back to you on it and I'll share it with the class. Good?
Okay.
Tamima, I asked if you're going to share the slides, or should I make a screenshot of the ones I particularly am interested in?
I'm happy to share that. And who is this? I can't tell who's speaking.
Evie's speaking.
Oh, hi, Evie. Yeah, I'm happy to share the slides. No
Because
problem.
this is an interesting one
And,
I'm doing right now, and I'd like to look at it longer. Yeah.
The Ana B'Choach, yes. Yeah, I'm happy to share them. Maybe what I'll do if everybody who wants them, or let me or let Joe know who wants them, we'll make sure whoever wants them will get them.
Thank you. Send all the information to Joe and he'll send it out to everyone who's registered.
Can I make another comment?
Will do.
The Ana B'Choach is the most frequently, the Rosh Tevis, the key words or the first letter are the most frequently cited writings on amulets and talismans across the globe in Sephardic, Yemenite, Moroccan, Ashkenazic, Hasidic communities. So this Ana B'Choach has evolved has developed a power of its own.
It's okay. Yes, I wouldn't disagree with it. That's why I work with it so much. Well, there's the Ana B'Choach, which has a name of 42. which is the name from Ma'aseh Breshit. And there's also another name of God that's used, which we're not going to work with, which is the name of 72, that actually comes from this week's Parsha, B'Shalach, right? There are 3 verses, and there are 3 verses right before the crossing of the Red Sea, or the Reed Sea, if you will. And we take, and they're all, each verse is 72 letters long, and it's worked with in a particular way, which I can share with you another time if you like. And that name is used for changing patterns of nature, where this one is used to reinitialize the state of creation. So they're different, and both are really important. Yeah, so I think let's sing this, and I'll invite you to, you can sing with me if you want, and we'll use a melody that I learned from Reb Zalman Schachter Shalomi for the Ana B'Choach. It's a Hasidic melody by the Holy Rezhina. And it goes, some of you have heard this and sung this with me before. And what it is, and each line, so what we can do when we say each line, we sing the words, and then we put the kavana, the focus, especially if there's a chorus at the end, that's a la 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 part, and look at the letters. So we'll do like the Ana, B'Choach, Tatir Tzura, and we look and we focus on the Abagya Tots. Or it's an invitation to do that if you're drawn to do it. I think it takes it a little deeper. And because that's really the divine name. The Ana B'Choach is the carrier palette. There's also Ana B'Chasidim, which is another carrier, which is, well, it's used for the blossom blessing in Nisan. And also it's really it's about love. It's really very beautiful. I'd like to do it at weddings. Anyway, this goes like this. La 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la, ya la. You'll have more fun if you sing with me. La 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 la, ya la la la, ya la la. Ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la la la. This is Chesed. Ana B'Choach Gedulat Yamincha Tatir Tzura. Ay 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 ay. It's a Bagatat. Abel Rinat, this is Gora Amcha Sagdenu Taharenu Nora. Ay 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 ay. Nagibor Tiferet She Yehudecha Kivavat Shamrein. Ay 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 ay. Barchaim Taharim Rachamei Tzikatecha Tamid Gamlein. Ay 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 ay. Chasin Kadosh Berov Tivcha Nahel Adatecha. Ay 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 ay. Yachi Ge'eleamcha Pnei Zochrei Kedushatecha. Ay 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 ay. Shalatenu kabel ushma'at zakatenu yodea ta'alimut. Ay 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 ay. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Ha'ed. Ay 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 ay.
哎呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀呀
Amen. So one thing I'd like to point out that's particularly interesting, most of these Roshei Tevot, but sometimes there's some Kabbalists that say, talk about words that come from them. But the one that really stands out is the divine name associated with the Gevurah, which Kariya Satan is the Roshei Tevot, which means to tear Satan, to call out, to succeed over the adversary. And I always feel, and when I need protection, sometimes I work with just those Roshei Tevot, and so far so good. Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. Yeah, and if you want to work with a particular one of these, like Isaac was saying, with an amulet, these are also, if you're needing more chesed or you want more balance, these are ways by focusing on these to activate those attributes. Okay, I've got a few more pieces. I actually wrote this, but it's directly from Sefer Ma'avorya book. So I want to close today with a couple little pieces, but this is one, when I read this at first, it made my heart just sing. Haminhag lesalek hakravim mecheder hagoseset, and we actually feminized this. It was in the original version, it's in the masculine. And one of the things that ever since I was a very young girl, doing Seder, and I noticed that all the Hebrew and all the prayers were in the masculine, and I didn't understand when my teachers were insisted that I speak as a woman, which I want to as a female when I'm talking to myself and talking to others, but when I'm talking to Hashem, it didn't make sense to be using the masculine. So my first time feminizing something was when I was 8 years old. It was Echad Miyodea. It was Achat Miyodaat. So I'd always play with it there. It's something that's, well, to have the woman's voice heard, I think, is very important. Haminhag l'salek hakravim mecheder hagoseset hu davka shelo letzara b'haramat kolam. So the custom of having relatives leave the room of the person that's in the throes of dying, it's specifically not to stress them, get them stressed out by having raised voices. Aval, however, im hayu yecholin la'amod amdam belo dilui kol, ein sapek sheyish ta'anug lanifteret b'hayot ha'kroveha ha'chayim sham. So, however, if they're able to stand their ground, to stand without raising their voices, without shrieking, there is no doubt that this brings pleasure. It's the highest pleasure. Ein yoter lamala me'oneg, that brings bliss to the person that is passing away, to the newly deceased. Actually, Nifteret, it's like the one who doesn't have to, is released from their obligations on earth, to have their living relatives, their living close ones, there with them as they pass. And and for me, reading this, it was just a beautiful acknowledgement of the appropriateness and how to, hints on how to be around people and to remember that our role is a support role and that it's really okay to be present. And I know probably most of the people here who have been present are not really, that's not even a question. And for a lot of people, it is a question. So I thought it was very loving to put it in there, and also giving permission, right as, well, and the part of the liturgy where they're talking about the transition, the passing. Okay, and this is Haskula Haniflahi, this wondrous segula. A segula is like an amulet, it's a segula, something that brings good luck, that brings blessing. Sheyistalek mitoch peseged rachame, that somebody depart from this world from within verses of maternal mercy. And if they merit for this, and or from, and they merit from this, or similarly from mitoch hure Torah, or if there are people who are like talking Torah, or if they're, and to pass away while people are engaged in Torah study at that moment, that's a beautiful segula. And so for this, the prayer of the person in his life is really to activate this mitzvah when they're departing. So anyway, so I really feel like that's a beautiful piece of, a mikra, an order, a recommendation to do that. Let's see. So this will make this passing a mitzvah moment for the person that's deceased to be holy, to be sanctified with the seraphim. So when they say that, there is a practice of davening nets, and where you're saying kadosh, kadosh, kadosh at daybreak, and like all the seraphim are there. So it brings that, nets is daybreak, and it brings that moment of where we're saying holy, holy, holy in the kedusha, in the morning kedusha with the seraphim, so that, we're already involved in Torah study, like you don't leave it. It's just a constant part of the life. So people need to be aware of every night of this before they go to sleep. So they want to wake up and they want to say the kedusha with the angels. So I guess it's also permission to stay with the person while they're dying, and just kind of, if it's your custom to study, or, and people have different customs, maybe we read Psalms, maybe, but to be involved in spiritual work gently and quietly, studying Torah around the deathbed is really a big attribute. Okay, and this again is a picture of the tree of life. And when I see this, I can imagine this is the person that's deceased, right? Laying out on the table. Okay, and these are the three upper sfirot that are beyond, or beyond. And this, as we're washing, this is just a taste of what we're doing next. The right hand, the right side. Wait, where's this? Here it is. You can see my pointer. Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and Malchut. Yeah, Malchut's often put at the bottom, but also Malchut Shechina. It's kind of the presence that's holding everything together. And that's what I have. Questions, comments? I'm going to stop sharing.
I have a question.
Is that David?
Yeah, Tamima, can you tell us, where in Ma'avar Yabok is this material? Is it sort of at the beginning, in the middle, at the end? Is it scattered throughout? Where do we find it?
Okay, so this is the book, Sefer Ma'avar Yabok. You can see it's been used quite a bit, and so there is all this beautiful writing, and I love this Rashi script version, and it's very condensed. And so, I want to say the middle, but what does that tell you? So it has here, like a bunch of different Siftei Tzedek. So these are like prayers to say when somebody's passing, or for somebody's sick, it's like Bikur Holim pieces. And so it's not what we covered. This is like, well, somebody's still, maybe they'll get better. We don't know. We're there. We're praying for them. We hope they don't die. And then when it enters into the phase of being a goses or a goseset, that's when we have the Yud Bet Kuf Psukim, the 112 verses. And these verses are like, they're so beautiful. They really like, they make me, when I read them, want to go meet the Creator. It's just like, it's like, you know, I don't want to go anytime soon, but when I go, I really like want to hear this. So I guess it makes me want to write that ethical will with a lot of specificality, because it's just like, you know, like the greatest hits and the greatest mystical hits. It's just so beautiful.
So you're saying at the beginning, Berechia talked about Bikur Holim, and then we're sort of in the middle where about actively dying.
Yeah, it starts, well, the liturgy starts with Bikur Holim liturgy, and then the Goses liturgy. And then what we looked at was just a taste of the liturgy. Our time is so limited here to get a sense of what, like, it's like Judaism's greatest hits that are said, you know, that Berechia tells us to say at the deathbed. And so I want to hear that. And then these are psukim le'et yitziat haneshama, verses for the moment that the soul exits. I mean, when I just saw that as like a chapter title, it's like you're already, you know, have to go there. I have to know more. Like, what are these 4 verses? And so what we read were parts of the verses for the moments the soul is exiting, that tender time, you know, becoming a niftar. And then after that is, okay, then right, oh, the other thing that's so cool. So David, you think you set me up well for this. Right, and right after the person dies, it's like they don't even skip a page. And I think there's a statement in that. It is the prayer for washing. Boom, it's like right there, right after. The same people that help the soul exit, it's like the washing happened. It's no delay. And then after the washing, then there's then there's the big mikveh, the tahara, you know, and the tahara, you know, and then the dressing and the laying to rest in the bier or the casket. And then after the casket's closed or the person's laid out, then there's the Seder HaHakafot, which can be done by the tahara team. Which I've done in that context, which was like the vault, just really, really beautiful. You could feel like walking circles, there's like a potency that manifests in so doing, like it's palpable. So I think it's a way to elevate. And then it's a levaya. So it's like a direct continuum. And the way it's laid out here, there's no, it's like here is the hakafut, and then right here, it's the hakafut, and then the levaya starts. It's just, you know, and that is such a profound, it's simple, but it's such a profound message. And it's what you know, modernity had forgotten until this nice chevra came up, and maybe some other nice chevras like, you know, like us, but like it just really talks to the compassionate care. It's like you don't leave the body waiting, you know, you tend to the dead, and it's really a value, and it's really there's a value in tending to the dead. I mean, there are times when people have to leave the body waiting. We understand that, but it really gives you reason to do your best to when somebody passes, to care for it without hesitation. You know, just staying the course.
Can you give us a little more preview of next time?
I can. So next time, there's this piece, so there's a footnote in the liturgy about Rechitza that says if you wanted the cow to do Rechitza and you want to look at the mystical aspects, there's a footnote that Berechia, well, he marked it in. So like there's all this liturgy in this Sefer, and then there's footnotes, and there's like all this text, which are the footnotes. You know, I haven't read all of it yet. God willing, I should merit to complete the whole Sefer, B'mheira. That would be a big salute. And so one of these pages really goes through the body itself and the order of washing. I mean, one of the pieces that I find so interesting. Who here saw the movie Avatar? Long time ago. It's a while ago. Do you remember how they had their hair connected up to like the trees that were connected that charged them up? Well, Berechia goes into this detailed, nuanced, about every hair is like, 720 channels within the hair. 72 is the gematria for chesed. So it's like couched in chesed and grace, which is like the first sphera that we talked about. And then there's 720 more channels. And some channels go up to the upper sphera and some channels go down to the lower sphera. And really a sense of how we're animated, not only in death, but really how we're animated in life. So while we're caring for the dead, we learn how we're wired for divinity in day-to-day life, which and to really invite that presence in is a big salute, is a big merit to do that. Really having the sense. There are a couple favorite pieces in there, like like they talk about that, like the upper forehead is like, there's an upper consciousness in the upper forehead. They say on the forehead itself, you can see avon. You can see that it's a telltale for sin. Maybe it's a telltale for stress. I mean, these are Berechia's words. And in the belly, this is where the da'at pnimiyut is. The inner knowing resides in the belly. I don't know if anybody else has read this book called The Second Brain, but it really talks about how the GI tract itself has its own consciousness and how people took the GI tract out and it was like, it put it in a solution and it could activate. It had its own feedback loop. It had its own consciousness, its own awareness. And so seeing that and having that affirmed, like I really, I feel it in my guts, right? We all know that feeling. And, and it's not just an idea, it's actually a physical thing. According to, it's a Jewish doctor, I think his name is Gershom, that wrote this book. It was great. It's really good information for like acid reflux, if anybody suffers from that. Just simple things that can be done to adjust. And I've long had an awareness of like feeling it in my guts. And it's so affirming to see Aharon Berechia write it in his book, is like, of course, this is where it is. And he's also referencing the Zohar quite a bit in there. Right. Thank you, Holly. Holly says there's shamanic understanding that each part of the body has its own soul aspect. So that'll be fun to get into that next time.
So everyone should know that we'll be sending out a link to the recording and a reminder about next week's class, so that if you forget, it'll be at the top of your email for next week.
All right.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Good night, all. Everybody be well, be safe.
Thank you.
Till next week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Baruch Hashem. Yay, God.
Thank you all. Fabulous.
Oh, thank you. Good to see you, Mark.
And you.
Baruch Hashem. Beautiful class. Thank you.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you.